How's it going, everybody? Nicholas from Tech Services. Hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas and New Year's Eve. We're really excited to be back and get some things going here. So today we're going to talk about one of the applications I'm working on for a customer out in the Midwest, where we're working on an application where we're going to be using the 79 weld head with the wire feed, and we're going to be using the AMI-227. I believe this is the -2375 79 weld head. So here, this application is going to be a SCED 40. And we're looking at 2-inch, so about 156 wall. Comes out to about a little over 2 1/4 on the actual diameter. So we've been building the weld schedules for this, and we're using a combination of fusion without wire and just using the AVC for the oscillation based on the diameter to make sure that we get a nice consistent weld. And then we come through with a cap pass after the fusion pass. We're using some oscillation, using some wire feed to get a nice cap and filler. So here on this AMI-227, I already have a program that I've come up with. Not going to walk you guys through the whole complete setup. We'll do that later on in another video. But here I have my weld schedule that I've already come up with and we've proven out that works. And we've actually done some training with this at the end of the year that we had with a private class. So just coming back through and showing you guys what we had already done and been working on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead here and use this remote pendant that AMI has, and we're going to go ahead and start the sequence and let you guys see some of the weld. And as we're going through, I'll walk through some of the parameters and steer through the actual weld settings and explain some of what's going on. All right, so now we've gone ahead and started our weld. We go ahead and add our wire. We're just going to adjust our wire. So all I'm doing right here is I'm trying to make sure I'm getting a nice flow of wire. We don't want to see little droplets coming off because that means we're burning back on the wire too much. So I'm trying to get a nice consistent flow of wire so we get a nice good even cap when we come around on that cap pass on that weld. So right now I'm just adjusting my primary wire and my background wire, and then just adjusting the angle of the approach on where the wire is coming in at as well. One of the important things to note is that when you're doing this process, it may be automated. That does not mean that you cannot pay attention to it. And you're constantly making sure that your process is working correctly and everything is doing what it needs to. You want to be able to keep an eye on it. Some of the other things you might have to play with too is your oscillation width or your indwell and outdwell. Make sure that you're pausing on the sides, getting a nice consistent penetration and wetting in on your toes of your weld. You want to make sure that the width of the weld is what you're looking for. And sometimes you also will have to play with what's called excursion time. So how fast you're traveling through the middle. So as this is traveling, we're just taking a look at the weld, making sure it's doing what it's supposed to. So keep in mind, we're doing this process, we're gonna go ahead and hit sequence stop. When doing this process, there's a lot of variables that come into play. It's much different than just orbital fusion welding. Where orbital fusion welding is kind of building the program, setting up the variables, and then one of the models we use is kind of like set it and then forget it. Because once you install the variables, there is no changes that you can make or adjust on the fly or on the go. With the wire feed application, there's a lot of adjustments and variables that you can change as you're making the weld. So being very attentive, being very involved in the process, making sure you know what each variable is going to do and how it's going to interact with the weld is probably the hardest part of the training and learning when doing these processes. So our job here at OTech Services, we always want to train, again, not on the equipment, but what those variables mean. What is it going to do to the weld? What is the outcome that is going to happen when making that weld, when adjusting those certain variables, and why? And we really pride ourselves on making sure our students and the companies that we work with, employees, know these different variables and how to use them correctly. So thank you for tuning in on this video. We're gonna do some more videos getting more in depth with the variables and the applications and how to do these processes, and we look forward to having you tune in. Thank you.